Okay, so the Tupac Shakur trial is in full effect. It has been for some days. I haven't totally paid attention to this, but I can guarantee you, I can assure you here, I know probably plenty about it, plenty more than you're even willing to listen to. I have been a Tupac fan for how many decades now? Probably two and a half plus decades. I had just about all the albums when I was a teenager, and he was well dead and past. Even when let's see, fall of '96, I'd be in fourth grade. So obviously I was familiar with MTV and the California Love video and all that kind of stuff. But in my teenage years, I grew into a fan, of course, and his first, well, not his first posthumous album, but I guess his second, he had Machiavelli, which came out 2 months after he died. He had Are You Still Down, Remember Me, which was another double CD, like All Eyes on Me, that came out in 97, I think around Thanksgiving in 97. And then in 98, he had the Greatest Hits. The estate released the Greatest Hits double album, double CD, which had a few couple new tracks on it. Changes, God Bless the Dead, and I think Troublesome 96. And maybe another track, but I think it was just those three on top of all his already previous released top hits. And Changes was huge on MTV, huge on Total Request Live. The video, the song was huge at the time. If you know the rap world, I think Trackmasters produced the track, so they did a great job with it. That song Changes, if you're a big Tupac fan like I was, not so much anymore. I kind of fell out of it, but I have researched the killing and the murder and that of the Notorious B.I.G. for, I don't know, ever since the Obama years. And I've read several books about it and watched, I don't know how many hours of YouTube stuff over the years. So what was I saying? The Changes track produced by Trackmasters. There's so much. I could start a whole channel just about all the Tupac stuff that I've come across and researched and read about. And I guess I'll say this isn't really a shock, the trial stuff that's coming out. Keefe has been around. Duane Davis is his birth name, but he's been around for years now, going on YouTube interviews, telling the story. And of course, people were dying for this story. And of course, we never got a real investigation because we never got cooperation from the police. Well, I'm sorry, not from the police, from the parties involved, because it was an African-American gang affiliated shooting. We never had people cooperate with the police. And that's why the investigation went nowhere. Now, there's a lot of controversy and revisionist history, I would say, from the African-American community because of this crime going unsolved. But the cold, hard truth is, folks, you know me, I'm Terrible Ted. I say the cold, hard truth as much as I can on YouTube. A lot of stuff I can't talk about on here for obvious reasons. But the cold, hard truth is, in the urban street crime community in Black America, there is a no snitching policy with the street gangs and the tough guys. That's the way it works. If you cooperate with police, that's a no-no. That's a big crime. That's why nothing ever came out. There was a big vacuum, and fans were left, his white American fans, which was the bulk of hip-hop fans for the last 3+ decades. It's white suburban kids in America. We were sort of left and I include myself here, left in a vacuum of trying to figure out, well, what the hell really happened. This was something a little bit beyond our culture, and we didn't truly understand it. And I'm speaking for myself at the time, but that's the deal. Nobody ever wanted to cooperate. Suge Knight famously said on one of the big network interviews, said that the white anchor asked him, I forget who it was, if it was Jim Lair or someone else, if you know who killed your friend Tupac, would you tell police? And the camera cuts to Suge, and he goes, absolutely not. I don't get paid to solve homicides. Something like that, right? And so this attitude, this was foreign to a lot of people, especially if you were younger and you didn't understand all this. But these people knew the whole time. Long story short, everyone knew. The car, the white Cadillac, pulled up right alongside the passenger side of Suge's car where Tupac was sitting. Eye contact was made between both parties. Everyone knew what it was. But there's this no snitching policy, and I really don't like the fact that Las Vegas Metro PD, LVPD, Brent Becker, who was one of the case officers covering this crime in charge of the investigation, they took a lot of flack for this thing for years, and the black community acted like, oh, this is racism and they don't care about. No. This was both sides. Both sides in your community didn't cooperate with police. That's the reason this thing went unsolved for 30 plus years. And of course, everyone, if you were in the streets in LA, you knew what it was. Everyone talked. Word got around. It wasn't any mystery. So the trial thing has been... There's been a few things that have come out. Apparently, they released new autopsy photos that were previously unreleased. If you go back to like 1997, 1998, a white female journalist, Kathy Scott, I believe she worked for the newspaper in Las Vegas. She wrote a book. She was the first to write a book about the killing. It's called The Killing or the Murder of Tupac Shakur. It's got a black cover, and it's got I believe it's got Tupac on, sitting in the car. This picture, this famous this was like minutes before the shooting. This picture right here. It's the famous kind of puzzling look on Tupac's face. Does he know what's coming to him? He just beat down Baby Lane Orlando Anderson in the MGM casino. Does he know what's about to happen? He kind of has that look like, who knows what's in my future here. But she had the original autopsy photos in her book. Let me see if I can get her book pulled up. Kathy Scott, The Killing. Here it is. I never had the book. I remember this being on the early internet stuff, people talking about it, and she had she somehow went to the morgue or wherever they do the morgue and coroner stuff. Is it at I assume it's at the hospital, right? She got unauthorized access, and she got autopsy photos, and the autopsy photos, of course, it was in her book, but it hit the internet back then, and a lot of people didn't believe it. They thought it was fake. And I remember growing up being a teenager and rotten.com or gore.com, where they would have celebrity autopsy photos and just gruesome shit. I remember seeing them on there. And so she was the first to write a book. I don't think she's still alive, but pretty much everyone, and she wrote this in her book, I believe, but pretty much everyone knew it was a street gang thing. I'll say this. There's another guy out here, Michael Douglas Carlin. This is him. About a decade ago, I read his book, and I used to watch several different YouTube channels about the whole who killed Biggie and Tupac thing, because I'm a fan of both, and it was big at the time when I was growing up. So Michael Douglas Carlin put out this book, Chaos Merchants, and it was rather interesting. Of course, it's kind of hard to believe that Suge Knight was in the car. Suge Knight being like twice the size of Tupac. Tupac was like 5'9", 5'10", 5'11", 150, 160 pounds. Suge Knight's like 6'3", 6'4", probably 3:30, right? So it's kind of hard to believe that he didn't suffer a fatal wound himself, although he did get grazed in the head. But Michael Douglas Carlin he worked with Russell Poole. Russell Poole is the original investigator that was the LAPD detective working the Christopher Wallace Notorious B.I.G. murder. And they were going to present new evidence about that case in 2015 to the LA County Sheriff's Department. And Russell Poole had a heart attack at the meeting. And of course, a very suspicious death. A lot of questions were raised. Who knows what really happened there? Was it authentic heart attack or was it something else? But anyways, there is a theory, and Michael Douglas Carlin goes forth with the theory in his stuff. He had a video out, and it's been probably 6, 7, 8 years since I've seen this, but he puts forth a theory that it could very well have been that other people, underlings like a Reggie Wright Jr. or other people, Sharitha Knight, which was the estranged wife of Suge Knight, that these people got together and thought, let's get rid of Tupac and let's get rid of Suge and take over death row. Kill two birds with one stone. This is the essence of the theory. And it was very interesting. Is there a whole lot of evidence for it? No, not really. And it's one of those theories that once you hear it, it sticks with you. It's not so easy to get rid of it and just totally dismiss it. But I think it's 80-20 in my mind. It's 80% likelihood that what you see with the Keefe stuff, the gang affiliation and Puffy soliciting the Southside Crips to kill Tupac and or Suge, I think that's probably 80% correct. I'm 80-20 on it. So none of this stuff is really new. I'll say this, like, you think that, oh, the trial's going to bring out all these guys were running their mouths. Keith Duane Davis, Keefe D, as he's called, the Southside Crip shot caller, the uncle of the gunman who killed Tupac Shakur, the uncle of Orlando Baby Lane Anderson, who Tupac Shakur jumped, bum rushed, and sucker punched in the hallways of the MGM casino, and the rest of the blood entourage at Death Row came over and jumped Anderson and roughed him up, kicked him while he was on the ground. This story's been out there. It's been all over Vlad TV. It's been all over different YouTube channels. And like I said, I've watched it unfold for the past, I don't know how many years now, too long. So I'll say this. Like I said, I had about all the albums. I had in 2003, 2004, I bought, it was all the bootleg Tupac stuff that wasn't released, or it was the original recordings that wasn't remixed on the retail albums that were put out. But it was like, I don't know, 17, 18, 19 burned CDs. I bought it off eBay, and I saw there was a documentary / movie that came out in 2003 called Tupac Resurrection. It had a soundtrack that Eminem produced. I went and saw the movie at the theater, and you guys might think, oh, Terrible Ted, he's some crazy right-wing extremist. Let me tell you something. I know a lot. I know a lot about several different topics, and I'm cookout certified according to my black coworkers. I got one that's like 15, 20 years older than me that I talk about 90s rap stuff with him. And I'm in, guys. I'm cookout invited. I'm cookout certified. I know the history. I could get an honorary Lifetime Achievement Award from the NAACP if I told them everything I knew about the rap stuff. But I've always been a Tupac fan. I like him. I think he is the best rapper ever. He's not a Michael Jackson. He's not an Elvis Presley. Don't get me wrong, but I think he's the best when it comes to rap / hip hop. He died at the peak. He died right at the top of his zenith. If he would have lived, if he would have kept going, I think he was going to go back to prison for a long time. And what I admire most about Tupac Shakur is his work ethic. If you go back to October 95 all the way to September 1996, he did, I think, at least 2, if not 3 movies where he was an actor in. He did several music videos. He recorded like 150 to 200 or 200 plus different rap songs. He knew he was either going to be dead or back in prison, and he was the sole provider for his extended family, his mom, his aunt, his uncles. He was the sole provider, and he had all that pressure on him. And what I admire the most is the work ethic and how much he was able to record. He ought to be in the world record books, the Guinness World Record books. This guy, if you go watch any of the interviews that other people in the industry did, where they recorded a song with him, or they were in the studio with him, he would record 3, 4, 5, 6 different songs a day per session. And most rappers at that time, they'd be lucky to do like one every other day or like one a week. You know, they would go get high, go eat, and none of them would write anything. And this guy would just spit it out. And some of it, you know, I've heard most of the catalog by now. There might be a few tracks that I haven't heard. And is every single song that he did or recorded great? No, a lot of it's kind of crap, in my opinion. The One Nation stuff, that One Nation album, I'm not a big fan of. But he just worked so much and outshined everyone with the work ethic that even him being gone 30 years later, no one comes close to his production. So I think he's always gonna be, you know, set the bar for that. It kind of like the Bruce Lee of rap, I guess. Gone before his time. He was only 25. He was a wild ass son of a bitch, that's for sure. Clearly in the wrong on a lot of this shit. Little child running wild. That was him. And I think he knew it's either dead or I'm going back to prison. And there's stories that he told his posse, his entourage, I'm not going back to prison. Put a bullet in me if it comes down to that. But I think he's the greatest rapper ever. No one's going to come close. I think rap today is pretty much dead. It's dead. It's played out. It's over. It's garbage. It's trash. It's ignorant. It's stupid. It used to be about struggle. It used to be a little poetic. It used to be a little have a human story to it. Now it's just garbage. Now it's just been ruined and run into the ground. So I think that like I said, he's the greatest. The other, since we're here and talking about the trial and the murder and everything, I didn't want to make this super long and I don't want to rant on, but god dang, there's so much to the story. I might as well just do it since we're here. I will tell you this. I think that there was a split. There was a split in the summer of 96 at Death Row Records. You had the Bloods, which was Suge and his homeboys from his neighborhood, from Piru Street, Mob Piru neighborhood. The Bloods, which is the red gang color, and then you had Snoop Dogg and the Dog Pound and everyone affiliated with them. That was the Crip side, the blue side of the street gang stuff. And it's my opinion, this is never set right with me, but I think Snoop and the Crips, I think they knew that on September 7th is a Saturday, 1996, the Mike Tyson fight. I think they knew ahead of time. I think they caught word from other homies in the Crip gang that there's going to be fireworks in Vegas at the Mike Tyson fight, and you better not be there. And if you go and look it up, Snoop, Warren G, the Dog Pound, they were all noticeably absent from Vegas. The only one who was there was Nate Dogg, who was the R&B voice you might recognize that did all the hooks and the chorus stuff. So I think they knew Tupac and Snoop had a falling out. Snoop did not go to the hospital the 6 days that Tupac hung on after being shot while being unconscious in the hospital in Vegas. I don't think Snoop ever went. And Snoop tells a lot of lies, a lot of revisionist history, as they say, about how close they were and all this. No, they didn't like each other at the end. And that's clear to me. So I don't like Snoop. I think Snoop's fake and he's telling a lot of lies. And I don't hate him or anything like that. He's just not telling the truth. So, and I got to say this too, as a Tupac fan and as these guys ran their mouths so much. They barked and talked all this shit. I do think it is shameful that after Tupac is shot and killed in Vegas, he died Friday, September 13th, 1996 at 4:03 p.m. local time. For all the stuff about being street thugs and all this, I don't think they ever properly got vengeance or revenge on the street gang. In fact, there are stories that because Suge is on video, surveillance video at the MGM casino, participating in the beatdown of Orlando Anderson and getting a kick in, he violated his probation conditions and now he goes to prison for quite some time. I forget how many years, but he immediately went to prison. And of course, Death Row Records falls apart from like 97 to 01 or 02, somewhere in there. And so what you'll find is that Suge had his attorneys pay like $60,000 to Orlando Baby Lane Anderson for him to testify at Suge's trial or hearing that Suge was not beating him up, but was trying to protect him and stop the fight. Now, this is the guy that just killed your homie, your star, your record label, Tupac, and you're paying him $60,000 to basically try to save your ass and not go to prison. And so the other sort of behind the scenes thing to this theory is, did the lawyers, David Kenner representing Suge, did they do their best to win the case for Suge, or were they in on the conspiracy with Reggie Wright Jr., with Sharitha Knight, to make sure Suge goes away so that they can loot and run and be kings for a day of Death Row Records? See, that's the interesting speculation, because they paid Anderson $60,000 for his testimony, absolving Suge of any wrongdoing in the beatdown, but the judge didn't have it, and the case went wrong and went against Suge Knight, and he goes to prison in 97, something like that. So, and of course, Suge gets blamed for the Notorious B.I.G. murder. I don't think it was Suge. I think there was something else going on. And the Rampart cops, who was it? Nino Durden, Sammy Martin. Who was the big one? Rafael Perez. That's Denzel Washington in Training Day. Rafael Perez. The Rampart cops. I do think that. I think it's them. Who's the other one? David Mack. David Mack robbed a bank for like $700,000 in 1997. And the idea is he's trying to pay off the shooter that they hired, this allegedly, of course, Amir Muhammad, the Muslim in the bow tie, according to Gene Deal, Puffy's bodyguard. So anyways, all this ranted on and on way too long about this, but yep, I told everyone I didn't like true crime and I wasn't involved with it. And I guess what I meant was the serial killer stuff. Yeah, I'm really not. But the 90s rappers killings. Yeah, I do love it. I've read several books about it. I've watched, I don't know how many hours, hundreds of hours of YouTube interview shit about it. And I do love it as a fan, and I've always found it interesting. So, Duane Keefe D. Davis probably needs to go to prison. He was in that car. He passed the gun to his nephew. And if the car had been on the other side, he would have been the shooter, according to what he said. So 30 years is a long time to wait, but anyways, I might do I was always meaning, and of course I got caught up with work, but I would like to have a couple interviews. There's an FBI agent that was on the Biggie case. I'd like to talk to him. And there's an author, Randall Sullivan, that I'd like to talk to about it, because I read 2 of his books years ago, and I don't know, maybe I'll put it on this channel. I gotta be careful with the stuff I put on YouTube here, and maybe this is a good place to do it, and my other stuff I'll keep that for Rumble or something. So very sad, wasted talent. The saddest thing in life is wasted talent. And Tupac Shakur was full of talent at 25 and threw it all away over some dumb shit, gang shit that really didn't even pertain to him. But he was loyal, and he was rolling with death row in the Bloods at the time, so he wasn't going to back down. And it wasn't his fight, but he took it on anyway, because he's rolling with them guys now. And so, man, what a loss. What an absolute loss. I do think he was leaving death row. He did his 3 albums, which is what the prison contract was when Suge came to him and wrote it on a napkin. It was 3 albums. He did 2 with All Eyes on Me, because it's a double album. And then he just finished in like August 96. He just finished Machiavelli. Great album, by the way. The original track lineup. If you like hip hop, the original track lineup with 18 tracks. Go find that on YouTube. One of the best. And no one ever talks about it. What was I going to say? So he just finished it. He finished his 3 album contractual obligation, and he was going to move on. He told that to several people. Several people have talked about it. He wasn't going to stay married to Suge Knight and all that kind of crap. And Suge's a notorious fraudster and just pimps out artists. Everyone's heard the story about him punking Vanilla Ice out of the rights to Ice Ice Baby and the royalties, and hanging him by the feet off the balcony and all that crazy shit. That is Suge Knight. There's no doubt about it. And Tupac was dating the daughter of Quincy Jones, Kadada Jones at the time, and he wanted to get serious with her. And the word on the street was that Quincy Jones was going to help broker him some $70-80 million deal via Warner Brothers, and he would have his own shit. And Pac's problem, he just too wild with the shit and couldn't stop. And even if he had survived his injuries in Vegas, even if he came out in a wheelchair or survived, he was still going to go to prison, because he had his own bond or bail or probation conditions that he violated by that beatdown of Orlando Anderson at the MGM Grand Casino. It was all on tape. It was all on surveillance video. And he was going back to prison, probably for a long time. 6, 8, 10 years, something like that. So anyways, all right, enough of me rambling about this. There you go. If you want to go see the trial stuff and new autopsy photos, I'm sure you can find it if you want to Google it. But a lot of great YouTube stuff out there too. If you want more interviews and that, it's out there. Anyways, Terrible Ted signing off. I'll see you guys next time.